guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Rebecca and on this channel I go through all things accounting, finance, Excel and investment related, so if you like this kind of stuff then please do consider subscribing, and otherwise let's jump straight onto the video. So in today's video I'm going to give you a tiny insight into what it's like working as an accountant. So I'm going to describe two roles to you today because I'm sure there are those of you that want to go ahead and work in practice, so where you work for an accountancy firm and you want to know what that's like. Or you might want to be working in industry, so working for a company within their finance function. So hopefully I can give you a little bit more insight into both and maybe help you to make a decision over whether you want to go work in practice or in industry or accounting and finance at all. A typical day working in practice, first of all, involves obviously finding your desk, logging on for the morning, and what you'll have is a series of emails. You'll have typical piece of software that you use for accounts preparation or tax preparation, and usually that will be all in one. So you might use the likes of Sage 50, Sage 200, Caseware, Iris. There are tons of others out there as well that you might use, such as QuickBooks. So let's imagine that you're starting on a job for the first time. So what you've got to understand in practice is that there are rotas. So you have a timetable that a manager has set out, or a series of different managers who've decided for the year. So in the next 52 weeks, what jobs individuals are going to be working on. So if you are a junior member of staff, which you're most likely to be if you're coming into accountancy and finance for the first time, you're going to be told where you are going to be. So there'll be a timetable that's available to you and to everybody in a firm or in an office to see what jobs you're going to be working on. Because, for example, if you work in audit, then you might have to work out on a client's site, and that's continuously going to be changing. So you're going to be working on a client's books for 2 weeks, a week maybe, 3 weeks. It just depends on the type of client and the sector that they're in, any complications, size of the company, etc. So you'll find out exactly what job you're working on. So when you get to that particular job, and if you are new in the job, you're going to find that you're going to have this pyramid structure. So what I mean by that is that you have got the likes of yourself and maybe even another junior member of staff who are going to be working on a particular client's books, but above you you might have the likes of a semi-senior accountant or a senior accountant or a manager. You might be reporting directly into them, but most of the time there is a senior level accountant who is either currently studying towards the end of their qualifications or has just recently qualified. So they'll be overseeing that particular job, so the preparation of that client's books. So what you'll find is a series of information is provided to you, including last year's file. So you're going to have the client's actual records that they have sent in, and they may even be in paper format, or they might be electronic, or they may use a piece of accounting software to record all of their accounts, and you might have access to that software, such as a backup, or you might be linked directly to their records where you can actually go into their software login with an admin user ID, for example, and you can view all of their records online. So with that in mind, like I say, you've got clients' books and you've also got last year's file. So what you are effectively doing is building up this file ready for review for the likes of a senior accountant or a management accountant. So within that information, the first place to start would most likely be your bank reconciliation. So if you can reconcile the bank and reconcile checks, outstanding lodgements, etc., uncleared items, then it's going to allow you to see what's been invoiced in the year from a sales side and a purchase side. So you're going to be able to look at total sales, total purchases, admin costs, etc. for your profit and loss or income statement. And then you're also going to be able to work out the likes of prepayments, so anything you've paid in advance that you haven't yet used. You're also going to be able to work out what your accruals are, so items that you've used but not yet paid for. From there you're also going to be able to see what is outstanding in aged debt, so where the client has invoiced a customer but they haven't yet received that money in. And you're also going to be able to calculate the likes of trade creditors, etc., because you're going to have those invoices there that you can match back to the bank and you can see what is outstanding at the year end. And most of the time these days, again, that's recorded on the client's piece of software, and you can view that online most of the time. But as part of the checks and preparing those set of financial statements or that bookkeeping, you're going to make sure that those figures are correct. So with doing that, you're going to prepare, again, the client's books. they'll be reviewed by a senior member of staff or a manager, and then they might make you do further adjustments once they've undertaken their review, which is normal. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong, it just means that sometimes they might have a little bit more information about that client that you might not have, and that might be something that is historic that they know about because they've just worked on the job for a long time, or it might be that they have received that additional information in the likes of an email, etc., and it's something that's a little bit more higher level, so it's not for you to worry about, but it's something that needs to be adjusted in that set of financial statements. So you will do this up to a certain level on a client's books, and then the next week, for example, you might go ahead and visit a client on site and do the exact same thing but for their set of books, or you might be doing something completely different. It just, again, depends entirely on your role, what company you work for, the size of that company, what type of clients they work with. So they might only strictly work with the likes of farmers and agricultural clients, or they might work with medical clients, so doctors, etc. So you might have to be involved with the likes of preparing doctors' pensions, with the superannuations, etc. It just depends entirely on the job itself. So with that, a lot of your time is going to be involved with looking at clients' records, and also in some cases, and not necessarily when you first start out, but you might be a little bit involved with contacting the client from time to time and just seeing, you know, if there's any additional information that they've not yet provided. So you might have to request that if it's not included in the information they've already given to you, or you might have questions that you just need a clarification from the client about. So you might do that in the likes of an email or a phone call, or even you might ask them to come into the office if they live quite close by, or again you can visit their premises just to clear up a few of those additional items. And in some cases, when you're working in practice and you're new to the job, some of your time might be filled with undertaking admin tasks such as answering the reception telephone, scanning documentation onto the system, or arranging client meetings, things like that. So it's not always necessarily just preparing the books for a client. It can vary a lot, and as you progress and as you gain more skills and become more experienced and further along with your qualification, then you're going to take on more responsibility and be more involved with the different clients and different sectors, etc. And in a lot of cases you can then start to choose the path that you want to go down with your career. So let's move on to what it's like working in industry.